All right, it's time to talk about the Barbie movie. Woo! Are you excited about this?
I am.
I've been waiting to talk about this since we saw the Barbie movie on like Tuesday.
We saw it Thursday.
They're on Thursday. Those are the same teas, you know. I wanted to talk about it in the car and on like a video. You were like, let's save it, let's wait. And I think you were right about that. You know how I am. But let's talk about the Barbie movie. Let's go. What do you think?
I loved the Barbie movie. It was like the most fun I've had watching a movie in such a long time. And it was almost like a group fun thing because we were in a theater that was like very full.
Yeah.
And just like everybody was having a good time.
It was also comfortable.
Yes.
It was a comfortable theater. You get to lean back. The most comfortable theater. It was like an AMC theater. I was comfortable. That's all I really wanted to tell you. To the point where like I could sit in the middle of two people and not feel uncomfortable. I feel, maybe I would rather still sit on the end. But I liked it a lot. I liked that the Barbie movie it was a movie for women. I think women liked the movie more than men. You liked it more than me. It resonated with you more than me. But there was still enough in it for guys. I was sitting there eating up every time Ken did anything. When Ken went to the real world and he started reading books about patriarchy and he started implementing it in the Barbie world, I loved it. I was rooting for him to do it. The women did seem happy.
Yeah.
When they were manipulated into the patriarchy.
Oh.
Don't you like rubbing my feet and stuff?
I would rub your feet.
Yeah, so you like it. No, but I think that the point of that part because that was what criticism some people are making of like, oh, well, when he got there, he dominated it and all the women liked it and like they seemed happy. I think that was supposed to be like a perspective of women are brainwashed by the patriarchal ideas to want to maintain those ideas. Like how some people will say that women shouldn't vote because they can't fight in war, even though men can't give birth to babies. So like there are things that we can do and can't do, right? Thank you so much, Barbecue Menchie, for the membership.
Thank you.
Anyway, continue. You're allowed to continue.
All right. So I tried my best not to get any spoilers before we went into the movie.
Yeah.
The one thing that I heard, and I think it was in your chat, was that there was going to be a BBW Barbie.
Yeah.
And so like as soon as the movie started, I had my eye out for who it was going to be. And at first, the girl from Bridgerton who plays Penelope, she like gave away an award and thought that they were choosing her as the BBW Barbie. And I was like, okay, like she is not exactly like who I would choose, but whatever. But then I eventually like realized and saw that they had, what was her name? Sharon...
The girl
Rudy?
from the one thing that you like. Was it Sharon Rooney? I think it is. Her name was Sharon Rooney.
Rooney?
I think so.
She is from what the hell is it called?
My Mad Fat
Diary. And I just love her. I think she was a great choice as the BBW Barbie. And
well, she's a really good actress.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, it's Sharon Rooney. She's a good actress.
And what I liked, so I don't get very all right, so this movie was very like preachy and like the whole feminine like thing. I like agree with everything they said, but I don't need preach.
Yeah, well, you're talking about a lot of we're gonna read through the monologue that America Ferrera gave and talk about it. But you agreed with it, but you just felt like it was too preachy.
Yes, but so when it comes to the BBW Barbie, I actually loved that. And it made me feel good because my favorite part about it is that there was no acknowledgement of her being BBW. Like I was like mentally preparing to be like, okay, which Ken are they going to have like focused on her? Yeah. Like which is going to be the one Ken that likes the big girl. And they didn't have that. Just like throughout the movie, they like interchange like all the Barbies with the Kens and everything. And every Ken like treated her the same as like all the other dolls, and I like was living for that.
The same thing with the trans woman. Like they implemented like overweight people, they implemented like trans people, they implemented like all people of color, and they never talked about it.
No,
like,
and they
even
did
with
it
the Kens,
so
they didn't mention
well.
like nobody was. They just like, hey, there's a thing, and they're like, okay, I liked it because it showed representation without like putting it in your face.
Yeah, so it was an incredibly diverse cast, amazingly casted.
Yeah,
and there were so many people in it that like you recognize. So like Sharon Rooney from My Mad Fat Diary,
Mm-hmm.
the kid from Sex Education, the girl from Bridgerton, John Cena.
Yeah, he was.
It was wonderful.
You know,
I
Amy
loved
Schumer
it.
was supposed to be in it.
She was
What-
supposed to be Barbie.
No.
Yeah, she was supposed to be Barbie, babe.
I would.
That's what I'm saying.
I thought that she was gonna just be like a little side character.
No, I'm pretty sure she was supposed to be Barbie.
Wow, that would have ruined the entire. I don't like Amy Schumer.
That would have made then in that movie there would have been one guy in love with the fat girl.
Yeah.
You
But she
know?
would have been the fat girl.
I hate Amy Schumer.
It was a great.
You know
movie.
she's actually Chuck Schumer's cousin. They're actually
Really?
related.
Oh, I don't like Chuck Schumer either.
Yeah.
He's annoying as fuck. Not to be political, I'm a Democrat and all, but holy shit. Okay, anyway, fucking we got sidelined by Amy Schumer. We are Kenough. I love that. I loved all that. The movie ended for me after the dance number.
Yeah.
I love that so much. The movie was like that was the choreo. It was amazing. It was just an amazing thing. And Margot Robbie was a better choice. She was fantastic.
I love Margot Robbie. Ever since she was in Wolf of Wall Street, I think she's one of the most beautiful women ever. I'm obsessed with her. And she's an amazing actress.
I'd rather fuck that fat girl.
Well, yeah.
I like her. She's kind of hot. Maybe the trans girl. Only if she's pre-op, right?
It's so ridiculous.
What? Doesn't want to.
But I love Margot Robbie, and I also love
not
Ryan
kidding.
Gosling. But we were
I'm
talking
not
about this earlier, where like I never loved Ryan Gosling growing up. Like I don't think that he's very attractive, and like
It's
in
his
the
energy.
Notebook, like that didn't do it for me. But La La Land, one of my favorite movies, that's when I started liking him. And in this movie, he was
better.
great.
He's better than Ryan Reynolds. He's more attractive than Ryan Reynolds.
Absolutely not.
100%, 1000%.
Absolutely not.
1000%. It's an energy thing. He's more attractive than Ryan Reynolds.
I love Ryan Reynolds.
I don't care what you love. I'm not talking. We're talking about objective nature, and the objective truth is Ryan Gosling is more attractive than Ryan Reynolds.
No.
Yeah, we're not. This isn't something to disagree about. I'm just telling you a fact. Anyway, thank you so much, Callie Ray, for the membership.
Can you do a poll?
For what?
Who's hotter?
Okay, we'll do it. We'll start a poll. Who hotter? Ryan. How do you spell Gosling?
I don't
care. Or Ryan Reynolds, RYNOLDS. There you go. We'll just do that. Well, that's the community. So what's the next thing you got on the docket, though?
So you wanted to talk about the daughter and capitalism?
Oh, her speech was just annoying. Oh, by the way, the daughter is one of the Bratz dolls. So when you first see the daughter of the movie, it's her and three other girls in like a school, and they all have the names of the Bratz dolls, and they look similarly to the Bratz dolls. And she was she was supposed to be a representation of a Bratz doll. But no, she was just like annoying and preachy. I liked that the movie didn't focus too much on her perspective. I think overall the movie was pretty good. Did a pretty good job at like having social criticisms without being too annoying and preachy. Some of it was a little annoying when she first went to the Barbie or to the real world. She got like, ogled and like, catcalled. It was obviously exaggerated. I understand that the general feeling is that women tend to feel a little bit less safe when they're moving around. And we know this because, you're not allowed outside at night. That's a normal thing that guys understand. Their wives or girlfriends are not allowed to leave the house at night because, you might be unsafe. So, but it was exaggerated. It was a little annoying. One thing I did catch, though, I don't know if you caught this, when she's talking to the instruction guys and they're ogling her. And she's like, I don't even have a vagina. And he doesn't even have a penis. And they're like, okay. Like, they were fine with that. Then they probably thought that they were trans and they just didn't care.
Yeah.
I thought that was a nice, like, little subtle nod at trans representation. And I felt like there were a lot of little moments that, like, you didn't have to be super intelligent to get it. But the movie didn't explain everything to you. Some of the stuff was a little bit more subtextual.
Mm-hmm.
And Ben Shapiro, by the way, had, like, this weird argument that he was upset because the movie was about how Margot Robbie's character, Barbie, had, like, a fear of death. And they never satisfied that. And then he said it was transphobic because she got a vagina at the end, and that was what marked her womanhood. And it's like throughout the entire movie, she went from being a Barbie with absolutely no thoughts, feelings, or perspectives to somebody who started to cry and contemplate life in a more critical way. And the ending of her getting a vagina was just a joke. The rest of it was her about becoming human. He didn't even understand what the movie was about.
Yeah.
All right, let's go back.
No, I want to talk about it for a second though,
Go.
because like the end of the movie, did you interpret that of like, oh, she's getting a vagina or has a vagina?
Well, that's what happened. She didn't have a vagina originally, and then she got a vagina.
Yeah, but like, do you understand?
I understood that she was going through a character development of going from like a brainless Barbie to a human being character. And sorry for the spoilers. A human being character, and then at the end, like, she got emotions. It was marking her humanity or personhood. And then at the end, they made a little joke about how she was getting really ready to do a gynecology appointment. It was a subversion of your expectations. The joke is, it looked like she was getting ready to have like a job or something, or go on a job interview, or some kind of like a very meaningful experience moving forward, and it was just a gynecology appointment. It was, the joke was a subversion of expectations.
No, I know, but that's what I wanted to see, like what your interpretation was, because like you said, it's just a gynecology appointment, but that's actually like really important, and like something that was like is about like, I think that's part of the like preachiness of like being a woman and going to the gynecologist and getting like whatever you need to get done there.
Oh, was that like I didn't take it as that.
And I thought that it was funny that they were like trying to like encourage her and like, oh, like good job or whatever, and getting her pumped up for it. And it's a gynecologist appointment. I actually thought that was a nice funny moment.
So from your perspective, mine was, it was just a silly joke. Yours is, it's actually very important to go there, and it's more difficult than people think, and it was a positive message to be like, go to the gynecologist.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. So interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think the movie was solid, and I loved all the Ken parts. The Mojo Dojo Casa House was fucking. Oh. All right, what else, you got notes on your phone or no?
The only thing aside from the speech I had is that America Ferrera is the mother in the video. And
everybody
the movie,
was a good actor, by the way. There wasn't a single bad actor. Ben said, "Why do they have Michael Cera in the movie?"
I thought he was.
It's a fucking comedy. It was funny.
Perfect as Alan, because Michael Cera is so uncomfortable.
I loved it.
You know.
He said Will Ferrell wasn't funny.
He wasn't in like a lead role to be.
No, he was funny though.
He was funny, but he wasn't in a role to be his usual self. Which is fine.
I think he kind of. He was like the Danny DeVito of like in Haunted Mansion of the Barbie movie.
Yeah.
He was funny. They were just silly, dumb scenes. He was just there to be Will Ferrell, be a little funny, and I like his humor because I'm into like dumb humor. It's just, I love dumb humor. I think it's incredible. It's funny to me. Like scenes that wouldn't normally be funny, but because it was Will Ferrell and he like was committing to the silliness of the humor, it let me laugh. Anyway, sorry. I was
just saying that America Ferrera was the mom, and that has got me fucked up.
Yeah.
Because she's older than me, but I feel like she's like in my like not social circle. You know what I'm saying?
She's in like, you feel like you identify with her.
I'm getting older,
age-wise.
and it's freaking me out that now like my people are becoming like the parental roles in movies.
Yeah, whereas like 10 years ago they were the teenagers. Yeah, it's weird because I didn't necessarily have that feeling to that degree, because I've always identified with like the I guess the mentor roles, like your Obi-Wan Kenobis and whatnot, always resonated with me a lot more. Even when I watched like Django. The white guy, the German, I always identify with him more than like Django. Like I liked that role in the movie of being like the guidance individual. So, okay, the monologue of the Barbie movie.
So this is probably one of the preachiest parts of the movie.
Easily. And
so like I think you found it annoying a little.
I listened to it and I was just like, Jesus. I was bored of it. It bored me. I thought it was annoying. It was preachy. I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna be like raw, and I'm gonna be honest, because I feel like I'm not alone in the feeling. I felt almost offended by it. It annoyed. Like I know that sounds like a little bit. I know that sounds maybe too sensitive, but I want to talk about it with you because we talked about it lightly in the car, and I was like, no, let's save this conversation, because this is my thing. I think it's okay as a man to watch that movie and be uncomfortable with some parts that make you a little upset. Because, especially the parts that might suggest that you are a shitty person for being a man, or that you are oppressive for your existence. I don't think that men are oppressive for their existence, but, some of the impact of like patriarchy, and I get it, can upset women, and sometimes men can over-identify. When you say patriarchy, we might interpret that as like, I'm the bad guy. And sometimes people try to make that happen. You know, they'll try to say patriarchy to be, but I don't think it was anti-male. I think they did a good job because the whole Barbie aspect was that they oppressed the men. That was a big part of it, was that like they had a matriarchy that was male oppressing. So clearly they weren't just trying to say that like men are bad. They're just trying to say like patriarchal structures are bad. And so like, yeah, it upset me a little, and I wanted to talk to you about it. So we decided to read through the speech, you know, piece by piece. I don't know if you want to read it or I'll read it, and then talk about it and like break it down. Does that sound good to you?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I think this is where it starts. This is the start of the speech. This was the speech that deprogrammed the brainwashing of women, right? The speech. So it's literally, you want to read it or me?
You can read it.
Okay. It's literally impossible to be a woman, Gloria tells Barbie. You are so beautiful and so smart, and it kills me that you don't think you're good enough. Now, right there, to be clear, I just wanted to go with like a little, we talked about this before. I feel like this speaks to women in a way that it doesn't speak to men if you said that to a man. Because I feel like the man's journey is to start off shit and to grow and become better. And the woman's journey is that you're born with your value. And I'm not saying that that's how it should be. But like we've been teaching through like movies and stuff, like that's how like male movies are about the underdog character who becomes powerful and he gets all the money, the pussy, you know, he gets all the power. And the women are about the guy waiting, like finally going like, oh, that's pretty cool. Right. And just like going, yup. And wanting to be with that person. It's like romantic comedies or romance movies are about a woman who is good enough until a guy finally sees that they're valuable. Whereas for men, it's about building that strength. And I feel like that speaks a lot to women. Like, you are good enough.
Yeah.
I feel like that's like a really powerful thing. And I can appreciate it. I think some men might identify with that too. But I feel like that's interesting. Anyway, like we always have to be extraordinary, but somehow we're always doing it wrong. You have to be thin, but not too thin. You can stop me whenever you want.
Yes.
And you can never say that you want to be thin.
Yes.
Which is true. Or else you're fat phobic.
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, I think that's a nice message. Because I like body positivity. I like the idea that it teaches people to be comfortable with their body and love themselves so that you can make better choices for the health of your body. But like if sometimes women get shit on if they're not too attractive. You have to say that you want to be healthy, but you also have to be thin. You have to have money. I don't know about that one. But you can't ask for money because that's crass. What do you think about that? I just don't know what the fuck she's talking about with that
So
one.
that's talking like you have to have money. Like you have to have, obviously this sounds dumb, I'm saying it, like you have to have money to have things. I think to be like, I don't know, whatever. But you can't ask for money because that's crass. I don't really know what the word crass means.
That's
offensive.
like rude. Yeah, kind of. Like
so
crass.
I think that speaks to like the advocating for more money and a job or stuff like that. I think that's what that's speaking to. I don't necessarily agree with this sentence, but like I hear it.
So you're saying that it's like you need to make money to survive, but you can't ask for more money or you're a bitch. Like you can't advocate for yourself or else you're kind of a bitch.
Yeah.
Okay. Because that's interesting. I didn't think of it like that. I thought of it like, oh, men usually will pay for shit for women. Like men are the ones that pay for women's dates or their Disney trips and stuff. You know? So no, but that's how I interpret it. So I'm like, that. What does that mean? It doesn't communicate to me, a man, like what that means. And I don't think it's necessarily for men, but I'm just confused. I appreciate that. You have to be a boss, but you can't be mean. That one.
I struggle with that.
Totally. Well, no, it's. Well, you do struggle with that. But I mean, like, what's the line between being mean and being a bitch? When I was a boss, like, I wasn't aggressive, but, like, there was times where I would, like, get angry. And I'd be like, what the fuck are you doing? I would yell at people sometimes. And I feel like sometimes, you have people that are fucking up so bad, like, you can't help yourself. No one's ever called me, like, an asshole, though. People liked me a lot as a boss. You know? But I feel like women, maybe, they struggle to be assertive, which is what you'd call it, without being interpreted as being kind of a bitch.
People at work think I'm a bitch.
Do they?
I do. I do think that they think I'm a bitch, and I think that there's multiple reasons for that. I think that I'm a very, like, one of the things that my boss has said about me is that he doesn't know if I'm having the best day or the worst day.
Yeah.
I'm very, like, neutral and direct, and I mean business. It also doesn't help when, like, I'm the only one saying things to people when I only see them once or twice a week.
Yeah.
And so it's like, who the fuck is this bitch coming in and telling me what to
when
do?
their bosses
So
are
there's a
letting them do whatever
different
they want.
dynamic going on there. But I am like a very, like, my resting bitch face is strong. Like, the way that I'm talking right now is the way that I train staff. And I think that might be a little.
We've talked about this. We've talked about this in relation to some other people in your life that more guys are interested in, even though they're not necessarily.
Yeah,
attractive.
like I'll talk a little more in detail about it.
Go
but
ahead.
like basically, like when I was in high school, I never had any boys interested in me, and even like he's only my second relationship, and my first relationship like whatever.
You're not as approachable, I think.
But
for
yeah,
a lot
I'm
of
not
guys.
approachable, and like
And
I
you're
have
not a
like other
whore.
people that I know in my life that have gotten things like very like easy when it comes to like relationships and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I was always
And
confused.
and again, those people may not necessarily be as attractive.
Yeah, and it's like it's crazy. Like you see, and like no offense to them, but like there's always like the sex crazy band kids, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like I had like self-confidence issues because I felt like I was a nice girl and that I was pretty and that like I am likable, but I'm just like
you're the kind of person that people want on their team when they get to know you. But like sometimes
I'm not approachable.
Not that you're not approachable. Sometimes it can be less approachable, I suppose. But like you don't put the energy out there that you're willing to have sex for nothing. So I think that's one of the things too. Because what do guys want? They want pussy first, right?
Yeah.
So we started talking. We had like a lot of actual conversation, and then I still got in that shit. I fell in love with it.
But I think that aligns with the same thing in work, like being like approachable or like how you. Like for women, like how to be like the line between assertiveness and being a bitch. I don't know. It seems to be a very thin line.
It seems to be tough. I've had some good women bosses and I've had some bad women bosses. But you know what, too? I've also had some bad male and female bosses, but I focus more on the women in a negative way. And I think that's just like an ignorance that I didn't really think about for a while. You know, because I've had real pieces of shit guy bosses, but then like it takes one woman boss to be shit, and you're like, oh, women, and then you just start shitting and come. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but
like even for myself, if there's a woman leader that I don't like, I'm more angry about that. Where like if there's a man who I don't like, I'm like, you're a fucking man and I hate you.
Yeah, but
like it stops there.
Yeah. So I think part of it is like a little bit of a societal teaching because I'm thinking about it now. I think most of the women bosses I've had have been better. I've had more good women bosses than good male bosses. I've had some like real piece of shit men bosses. So yeah. Okay. So you have to lead, but you can't squash other people's ideas.
I have such a hard time with that too.
What is that? Does that speak to like not shutting down a man for a bad idea?
I don't know. For me, I think it's more of a personal problem where like I'm like I already have my idea and like mine's better than yours. Yeah. So like we're going to do what I'm doing.
Okay.
But I don't know if that's a woman problem. I've never thought of that. I've always thought of that as a me problem.
I think that's a person problem. I think that like in general it's just about being sensitive to people.
Yeah.
You're supposed to love being a mother, but don't talk about your kids all the damn time. I don't know what that's talking about, to be honest with you.
So when people have kids,
okay,
like that's all they talk about.
Yeah, but I feel like men, well, I guess men maybe don't do it as much. I'm going to talk about our kids all the time. I'm going to be excited as fuck. I don't know. I guess. I feel like you're supposed to love being a parent.
It's like when people go on vacation and they come back and they're like, oh, do you want to look at my 200 pictures of me on vacation? Like, no, I don't want to fucking do that. Like, yeah, people are the same way with their kids.
You're going to do that. But that one, I don't know. It doesn't really resonate with me. You have to be a career woman, but also always looking out for other people. What does that mean?
I interpret that as like the multiple role. When I hear that, I hear like, oh, like you have to have your career, okay, and be like serious in that. Well, you also have to like balance like your family and your husband and everything like that.
So it's saying that you not only now have to develop your family, but you also have to develop yourself. But historically, men were the only ones that you just choose one or the other. I feel like as time goes on, that's going to be a men issue too, because men are now expected to do more than just make money. They're expected to be emotional support as well. But okay, I guess that's interesting. I feel like we don't really do we have that problem in general?
What
The
the
support stuff. I feel like I've been pretty supportive.
Yeah, I think that that's something that like we're like transparently we're working on in our relationship.
Yeah, me
like
being a
it's
little
hard
more-
like usually I am the one who comes home from work and cooks, and
Yeah.
we're working on like you helping.
I made dinner last night.
You did it. It was so
I'm making
good. You're gonna make dinner tonight.
Yeah,
Like and just stuff like that to take off my
Okay.
plate after a day of
that's
work.
fair. Sure. Okay.
Or like, you know, like once we have kids, like especially when they're school age, we're gonna have to worry about making sure their clothes are clean, getting lunch ready for the next day. Like it will be, and I have faith that you'll do that as my partner, that like you'll help me with that. It's not gonna be like I have to come home from work and then take care of all of that.
That makes sense. Okay.
Like
so
you'll be as involved in field trips all as much as like I would, you know?
Gotcha. Okay. So that one makes sense that women are expected to do a lot. Okay. You have to answer for men's bad behavior, which is insane, but if you point that out, you're accused of complaining. So what does that mean? Because I don't get, why do women have to answer for men's bad behavior? Are they talking like really deep about almost sexual assault? Where it's like, well, what were you wearing?
I don't know.
That kind of a thing?
I think it's too broad, and I don't know exactly how
Yeah,
liberal
exactly.
the
Too many
writers
broads.
are. But like for myself, when I heard this, I guess I focus more on the like if you point out men's behavior, you're accused of complaining.
Okay. I just don't get it.
I don't know exactly what they're talking about. It didn't really resonate with me exactly just because it's so broad.
Okay. Maybe apologizing on men's behalf. Does that make sense? I'm sorry,
Maybe.
my husband's a stinky, poopy boy. Okay. You're supposed to stay pretty for men, but not so pretty that you tempt them too much or that you threaten other women because you're supposed to be part of a sisterhood. What does that mean? That doesn't make sense to me. Like, obviously, you're supposed to stay attractive for your husband, but your husband's supposed to stay attractive for you. It's harder to stay attractive for women because you're expected to put makeup on and shave, but I like a little.
Yeah, but then if you do it too much, then like
You're
what
overshadowing
they're
women.
saying, yes, that's basically what they're saying.
Really? Do you really feel that way? Like, if you do too much? I don't.
I understand the balance of like how do I be attractive without being too sexualized? Because I personally don't want sexual attention, so I understand
Gotcha.
like that
Okay.
balance. And then also like the idea of, I would say like the threaten other women because you're supposed to be part of a sisterhood.
So you're supposed to. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Finish
I was gonna say is I interpret that as the idea of like if you are like an attractive like sexual person, like say in the work environment, like I don't know. I feel like I sound like an asshole trying to explain things.
Well,
but basically what I'm looking at is like if you're in a group of husbands and wives, like you shouldn't be like to distract from other husbands or
what
stuff
you're
like
saying
that.
is that you need to look pretty and look nice and look presentable and for the guy that you're with, but then also you don't want to attract the attention from another guy because that would piss off their wife or girlfriend.
Yeah, stuff like that.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you basically don't want to be too sexualized. Okay. But always stand out and always be grateful. But never forget that the system is rigged. That part, kind of. I think I agree with that. I think legally everything is equal, but like socially, not necessarily, right? There are still differences that are going on. And we've talked about this before. Like femininity isn't valued in our culture as much. And you know that because if you have a masculine boy, that's good. If you have a feminine girl, that's okay. If you have a masculine girl, that's also okay. If you have a feminine boy, that's disgusting. That's the interpretation of society.
Yeah.
Which I don't agree with, obviously, but so like we know femininity overall is generally not valued. Jobs like social working jobs should pay better. They're very difficult. They're also very good for society. They don't pay particularly well. I think caregiving jobs should be given more of attention because that's literally is going to help us all have kids. You need a caretaker if you're a working, family. So,
and then I can't really read Ultra Butler.
What?
in chat said how like women get mad at like the other woman in situations rather than their husband or partner in cheating, which that drives me nuts.
Yeah.
Like I was just saw a video on TikTok of this girl who found out that like her boyfriend or whatever had another woman like in a hotel room, so she was able to get into the hotel room and then went straight to beat up the girl.
Yeah,
I don't get that. Like unless it's like a girl who is like in your circle.
Like a friend,
like
then it makes sense.
It doesn't make sense.
But like, because I think there's a normalization of men cheating. So it's like if a woman cheats, though, they're terrible.
Yeah,
it's very interesting. But cheating is obviously bad. Hot take. So find a way to acknowledge that, but also always be grateful. You have to never get old, which is like a beauty standard. Never be rude. Never show off. Never be selfish, never fall down, never fail, never show fear, never get out of line. Does that speak to anything that wouldn't also speak to a man, you think?
No, I don't think that applies to men.
No, you don't think
No.
so? You don't think that men never show, oh, you know what? Men buy cars. Men will show off status symbols a lot.
Never get old. A silver fox is a thing. Never be rude.
True.
Men are the ones like to be assertive and assholes.
That's true. It's more normal for a man
never
to be
show
assertive.
off. Men are always like never be selfish. I think that men are selfish. The never fall down and never fail, never show fear. I think that is more
I think that speaks to men.
of like a masculine thing.
I think that speaks to men. Yeah.
I think that I think it goes into like we've had this conversation when it comes to like sexuality and development.
Mm-hmm.
I think that for men it's like never fall down, never fail, never show fear, where like for women it's like more of like an unsaid thing.
Sure, but that sounds like it's almost like a toxic masculine point of like never show weakness.
Yes.
Even though it's not weak to fail. Like you have to fail because you need to learn to fail. Because if you only fail once in your life, you're gonna have a meltdown when you finally do. Never back down, never surrender.
What?
Never back down, never surrender.
What's that?
Say it. Never back down, never surrender.
Never back down, never surrender.
Awesome. We just did a Fortnite meme. All right. So, never get out of line makes sense for women. Okay. Never get out of line makes sense to me. Like they telling women not to get out of line, stay in your place. I get that one. It's also a class conversation too. Anyway, it's too hard. It's too contradictory, and nobody gives you a medal or says thank you. To me, that makes sense for being a mother. I feel like mothers or stay-at-home parents aren't really valued. It's just like, oh, you had a baby, like that's what you're supposed to do, bitch. And then like, what if a guy goes to work and he's supposed to make money for you? If he does really well, he deserves attention and positive praise.
Yeah, I saw this. One of my favorite, like, I don't know the words, like pictures of this is like it's a drawn cartoon, and one is a mother giving her kids McDonald's and the other is a father giving his kids McDonald's. And the dad is like, oh, you're the best dad, you're so fun, and the mother is like, you need to be cooking them a healthy meal, why are you giving them shit food?
Maybe. Okay. Yeah, I get that one. And it turns out, in fact, that not only are you doing everything wrong, but also everything is your fault. Does that speak to you as a woman?
Yes.
Really?
I don't know. Again,
do I
as
make
a woman,
you feel that way,
or if it's a me problem.
But do I make you feel that way?
I mean, I guess sometimes.
About what?
Like we've been talking about us like working out.
Okay.
And everything.
Okay.
And I've given you that feedback, and like you like trying to teach me. Of you, like sometimes you'll use the language like, oh, I'm being lazy on a movement, where that's like telling me like that's my fault, like I'm purposefully doing something wrong.
Well, it's more
to like bitch out of the movement.
For me, when we were talking about like weightlifting and we're talking about doing like a bench or an overhead, I'm not trying to make you feel bad when I say you're being lazy. I'm saying that like you're moving through a movement in a lazy way, not like that you're inherently lazy. It's just that movement, the way you do something, is like you're not putting in the full effort. And so, like, a lot of times you're going to get hurt. Like when you were doing farmer's carries yesterday and you pick it up, you do the right thing. And then when you finish, you bend over fully and you don't, like, bend your legs down to put some of the weight onto, like, your entire chain. Like, I'm like, they're being lazy about that. You're going to hurt yourself. You know, but your interpretation is like you're not really aware of it, and so like you're just
I'm doing something wrong, and I
But
need
I feel
to
like
be
that-
taught
is that
the
a
right
man-
way to do it.
Is that a man thing, or is that just like a me thing? I'm just very blunt.
Well, the question is like the interpretation of that says everything is your fault, and you ask me if you make me feel that way anytime, and like
Okay.
with the language like your fault, that means to me I hear that as like you, like I am doing something that's like bad. I'm doing like my action is ruining things for me when like, and so that's what I'm saying. And the like the weight thing, like it's not
Sure,
like whatever,
sure.
but like it's the idea of like, oh, you're doing this, and it's like, well, like I'm doing something wrong, I need to be taught the right way. Like I'm not purposefully trying to do something wrong or get out of something.
Gotcha.
You know, and I think that like in a greater thing, it's like, oh well, why didn't you do it this way? Why don't you do this? Blah blah blah.
Okay.
I think that's
Yeah, I
what
get.
that
I
speaks
understand
to.
what you're saying. Okay. I think that this can speak to guys too. Like put it. I don't know. I feel like that speaks to men a lot because there is an expectation of men to succeed in society more than women. I feel men tend to be the ones that are expected to bring home money. If a woman gets a job, it's more of like a complimentary thing. It seems like more men want to put, like, even in our dynamic, like I want to do better, I want to make more money, I want to provide more for us, and for you, you're happy with your job, and you'd be fine staying there for the rest of your life, and you don't necessarily have a desire to move up. And so, like, I feel, yeah, right. So I feel like that maybe speaks to men a lot. That, like, you know, I don't know. That's that high expectations for men in like a different way.
I feel like when it comes to like, so like say like a guy loses his job because he gets laid off.
Sure.
Like, do you think that in general men would interpret that as being a victim of circumstance, or like because they did something or could have done something better?
I mean, it depends on why they were laid off. It's not really relevant though, like as to the reason they were laid off, as much as it's like you are a man, go get another job, and also make sure that job is able to support a particular lifestyle, and having the weight of like the pressure of like you're supposed to be the financial earner, like in general. And like if a woman lost her job, that's just something that happens. But if a guy loses their job, like that's the entire family structure getting broken down because they lost their job.
I guess that's like kind of what I was just trying. I feel like my interpretation, I guess, is that I feel like men feel like a victim of circumstance more often than like things
Why?
happen to them then.
I don't understand what you're saying. What do you mean?
Yeah, I don't know how to explain it well.
Well, just talk. I mean, I want to hear what you're trying to talk about.
I don't know. I feel like it's a more. I don't have any examples or anything, so
Like,
it
it
doesn't
sounds like what you're
matter.
saying is that like men victimize themselves when they fail.
I guess so. Yeah.
Why do you think that they victimize themselves when they fail? What action have you seen in me that when I fail that I victimize myself?
I'm not talking about you.
Well,
I'm
no,
talking about men.
I know, but like what? I don't really see that. Like men are like they feel that they're victims of circumstance more than women would feel that way.
You know, that's what I'm saying. I don't have any examples. Like we could just.
Okay, I'm just saying because I feel like men would personalize things more when it comes to like a failure of an expectation they're supposed to maintain. I think so. I think men usually have more of a bootstraps mentality, and women usually have more of a like almost like a environmental mentality. I'm not saying that that's like necessarily bad. I'm just saying I think that men's egos are probably more fragile because in that capacity, but I don't think that they victimize themselves based on circumstance. Just my experience, though. I'm just so tired of watching myself and every single other woman tie herself into knots so that people will like us, Gloria concludes. And if all of that is also true for a doll just representing women, then I don't even know. That's the speech.
I thought it's overall a good speech and is realistic,
Okay.
but I just don't need preaching. You know?
Okay. I guess that makes sense. Do you feel like you feel the need to say that you don't need the preaching just so that to distance yourself from the advocation?
No, I'm like,
You understand what I mean, though?
like, are you trying to say that, like, if I say, like, I don't need the preaching, then I'm not part of, like, the
No,
support of this?
what I'm saying is that, like, for when people listen to this, especially men, the first thought, I think most men are like, this is just stupid. And so is you saying, hey, I agree with this, but I think it's kind of cringe. Is that just a way of you distancing yourself from the message in a way to appear more palatable to men, or do you actually feel like it was cringe? Like, would if it wasn't for you wanting to feel sensitive to my perspective, or maybe women do this in general, would you have just been like, yeah, I like this speech a lot? Like, are you saying that like you only think it's kind of cringe and preachy because men feel that way, and there's like a need to feel like you need to soften the blow to guys or be agreeable to men by saying like, it's kind of cringe. I agree with it, but it is really cringe, you know?
No, like I don't care if this speech makes you feel like bad
I feel like
as
some
a
women are doing
man,
that.
or no, I don't give a fuck. Like if you're offended by this and you can't take it in, like that's your problem to deal with. We could have a different conversation about like how the idea of the patriarchy impacts men.
Yeah.
But for me, like I don't need to hear this speech to feel validated. That's what I mean. Like all this is true. Like I know. So like, is this speech written to make women feel better? Is this speech written for the men who are watching the film with the woman? Like, I don't know.
I think it's to make women feel better.
Yeah, and like for me, like I don't need that.
that.
Like I hear this and I'm like, yes, like moving forward.
The reason I bring it up because I watched another thing where it was Brett Cooper, which is a girl, talking to Ben Shapiro about it, and she made the point, she's like, the speech was true, but it was cringe, basically. And I feel like that was her actually really agreeing with the speech, but her feeling like she needed to say it was cringe because another guy that hated the movie was in the room or in the conversation, and she just wanted to feel more agreeable with him. And if there was some kind of a need for women to feel agreeable sometimes, like as one of the issues that plague women.
Oh no, I don't care.
Okay, gotcha. All right, well,
that was good.
That was good. That was fun. I liked the Barbie movie. In conclusion, Ryan Gosling did steal the show for me. I liked the musical number. It was fantastic. And the vote has come in saying that 54% of people voted for Ryan Reynolds, and you're all fucking coping.